Think you know the Exodus story? 99% fail this test. What was the very first plague brought upon Egypt? How long did the first plague, the Nile turning to blood, last? Which plague immediately followed the plague of frogs? Which plague was the first that Pharaoh's magicians could not duplicate with their secret arts? Starting with which plague did God explicitly separate the land of Goshen, where the Israelites lived, so they were spared? Which Egyptian animals were specifically targeted by a severe pestilence in the fifth plague? What did Moses toss into the air to initiate the plague of boils? What accompanied the severe hail during the seventh plague? How were the locusts brought into Egypt for the eighth plague? How long did the plague of darkness last? During the plague of darkness, what was the situation for the Israelites? What was the 10th and final plague upon Egypt? What were the Israelites instructed to use to mark their doorframes to avoid the 10th plague? What plant were the Israelites told to use to apply the blood to their doorframes? Along with roasted meat, what two items were the Israelites commanded to eat for the Passover meal? What did the Israelites ask the Egyptians for before leaving, effectively plundering them? Whose bones did Moses take with him when leaving Egypt? How did God visually lead the Israelites during the day as they left Egypt? How did God visually lead the Israelites during the night? Which body of water did God part so the Israelites could escape? What action did Moses take to part the waters of the Red Sea? What physical force did God use to drive the sea back all night? How did the waters of the Red Sea appear as the Israelites walked through? How many of Egypt's best chariots did Pharaoh take to pursue the Israelites? What happened to the Egyptian chariots as they pursued the Israelites into the seabed? Who took a timbrel in her hand and led the women in dancing after crossing the sea? How old was Moses when he first spoke to Pharaoh about letting the Israelites go? What did Aaron's staff turn into when he threw it down before Pharaoh? What happened after Pharaoh's magicians turned their staffs into snakes? What was was a specific requirement for the Passover lamb? Why did the Israelites eat unleavened bread when they left Egypt? What stood between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of the Israelites the night before the sea parted? After crossing the Red Sea, what was the name of the place where the Israelites found bitter water? How did Moses make the bitter water at Marah drinkable? What sarcastic question did the Israelites ask Moses when they saw the Egyptians approaching the Red Sea? According to Exodus 12, how many years exactly did the Israelites live in Egypt before the Exodus? What role did God assign to Aaron in the confrontation with Pharaoh? Throughout the plagues, what phrase is repeatedly used to describe Pharaoh's stubbornness? At what time did the Lord look down from the pillar of fire and cloud and throw the Egyptian army into confusion? How many Egyptians survived the collapse of the Red Sea waters?